up guys, Sam Logue here for Green Blood Boxing. Thanks for tuning into the video. Make sure to like and subscribe before I get started. So today I wanted to talk about week 1 of Matchroom Fight Camp. We've got some Irish interest on the card as well, with James Tennyson fighting for the British lightweight title against Gavin, Gwynne. But I want to go into the whole card and just give a quick preview. Obviously it's quite short. We're just before the fight day now on Friday. It's weigh-in day. Everyone weighed in and made weight. But we're just going to go through the card and talk a little bit about the fights quite quickly. So it's first week of Matchroom Fight Camp. It looks amazing, to be fair. They've really outdone themselves. Matchroom have again. But let's start with the first fight on the card, which is Jordan Gill against Reece Bellotti at featherweight. Now, I think this is a good matchup, but it's not a 50-50 as it's been billed. I think this is Gill's fight to lose. But I mean, it could go to Bellotti, who's a big puncher. But I mean, if we've seen both fighters, we know that Gill is a bit more skillful. He has a bit more in his arsenal, I think, to go at Bellotti with. And it's for me, it's Gill's fight to lose. I mean, I think everyone can agree in his last fight, you know, he was sick. Apparently, he had health problems. And obviously he lost the fight, but up to that point he had looked absolutely outstanding. He really does look like he's going to be a force to be reckoned with in Britain and on the world scene going forward. So for me, it's Gill's fight to lose, but definitely a competitive fight where Bellotti will have his chances at times and will be in the fight. But for me, I see Gill winning that one. And then they move on to the second fight of the night, which is prospect Dalton Smith against Nathan Bennett from Liverpool. Nathan Bennett, 9-1. Checked his record out before making the video. You know, kind of, I haven't seen much of Nathan Bennett. I haven't really seen any of his fights, and we can only kind of go on off his record. He's been a bit of a small hall show fighter as far as I can see. All his wins coming against guys with losing records, you know, journeymen, and then his only loss coming against a guy with a 7 wins and 7 losses record. So, which doesn't necessarily tell the whole story, but you'd have to favour Dalton Smith coming into this fight. Obviously, a prospect has only had 5 or 6 fights, if I'm right. But you know, GB podium squad, amateur, and you know, if you've seen Dalton Smith fight, you know that this guy has a lot in his arsenal as well, similar to Jordan Gill. Can show a lot of different styles. Seems a fairly hard puncher, and yeah, it seems an excellent prospect in general coming forward. I'd have to say Dalton Smith should, if he can rise to the occasion. You know, this is going to be his toughest test by far as well. You know, fighting a guy with a winning record and a guy who's coming and believes he can win by what I've seen from Nathan Bennett and listen to him speak. You know, he really is coming, thinking he can win the fight and believing he can win the fight, wants to come in and have a proper fight. Not everyone has put themselves forward for these fights in this kind of pandemic time, where you know the training camps and the ability to prepare properly is definitely not there. You know, I'd say most of the guys have prepared well, but not as well as they could have. That would be my assumption, at least. We'll probably find out after the fights, you know, when the guys do interviews, and we'll find out really then if they've had proper camps. You know, it's the same stuff. They're all going to say they've had good camps, that the preparation's been good. That's just the way boxers are. They always speak very positively of their training camps, regardless of if they were good or not. So we'll see after the fight if people have had trouble training and stuff like that. But I would assume that they haven't had the most the best preparations that they could have had. But you know, we'll see. So I would say that if Dalton Smith can perform how we've seen him perform so far and can rise to the occasion, and doesn't get overawed by the step up, I don't think he will, but if he doesn't, I think he'll win this fight. Then we move on to the heavyweight fight on the card, which is Fabio Wardley against Simon Vallily. I think this is a really good fight. You've got Fabio Wardley there, who's the guts of, I think he's 8 or 9-0, with you know, fighting kind of mostly journeymen, represented by Dylan White, of course, who kind of bigs him up and talks about him as a big force in the heavyweight division coming through. I haven't really seen enough of Fabio Wardley to kind of comment too much on what I think he can do in the future, or even just to comment too much on him in general. But I have seen some of the Vallily fight, and I remember being particularly impressed with him. Although he lost, one of the fights that I saw him in that I really was impressed with was when he fought Maris Bradis at cruiserweight, who was obviously one of the best cruiserweights around still, and he lost. He was stopped, but early in the fight he looked great, and I think you could see his pedigree, you could see his standard, his level is very high. He was obviously a GB Podium Squad member as well, so a very good amateur background. I mean, this, Fabio Wardley is the favourite with the bookies, but to be honest, I see if Vallily was having trouble at cruiserweight to make weight, etc., if he feels refreshed and he feels good at heavyweight, I think this is going to be a really big test for Wardley. Vallily is a big step up. He's a very, very clean, smooth operator. A lot of skill, a lot of ability. But maybe what we've seen in the past is, I don't know if he's been fully committed or if maybe a little bit of a lack of heart. I may be speaking out of turn there, but he perhaps for someone who's had a lot of praise and maybe some hype at different stages, especially coming into the pro game, he never really fulfilled. He's had a good few losses. He's shown his class, he's shown his ability, but he maybe hasn't been able to turn out those performances and really go to the heights that people thought he could at cruiserweight at least. So, but at the very least, this is going to be a really, really tough test for Fabio Wardley, and I think, don't be surprised if Simon Vallily nicks this. He seemed bang up for it as well. They obviously had a very interesting press conference yesterday, a lot of fun to watch. But yeah, I think watch this one. It's going to be a good fight, and don't be surprised if Vallily takes this one. So then we move on to the Irish interest in the card, which is the co-main event, or the chief support. It's James Tennyson against Gavin Gwynne for the British lightweight title. Tenny's going into this one as a reasonable favourite, which I think is deserved. Since even when he was at super featherweight, he did of course look vulnerable at super featherweight, and he'd been hurt to the body a lot. And we've seen obviously he fought for the super featherweight world title, the IBF title against Tevin Farmer, and he came up short. Tevin Farmer obviously a quality operator, so we wouldn't really hold that one against Tenny. That was probably a little bit of a step too far at the time, but had to take the chance. He's moved up to lightweight, and as I say, even at super featherweight he was knocking guys out. He's had some brilliant wins at super featherweight, and he seems to have carried his power up really, really well to lightweight. And also he seems a lot sturdier, and a lot more resilient, able to take maybe bigger shots, especially to the body. But we will also see as he goes up the level. I think Gwynne is a good opponent for him. He's a very strong kind of come forward guy, from what I've seen of him. In his last fight, Gwynne, he fought against, I believe it was his last fight, but one of his last fights he fought for the British lightweight title against Joe Cordina. I was actually at that fight. He gave a really good account of himself. He was in the fight the whole time, but he just couldn't answer the kind of slick boxing skills of Joe Cordina. Now obviously this is going to be a completely different matchup with James Tennyson, known for coming forward, hunting his prey, stalking his opponent, and looking for finishes. I think where this could be a really good fight is Tennyson does get hit, and he really only knows one way to fight, in a sense, as that is to come forward, but he does get hit. He is vulnerable to being hit, but what he does have is a very clever and varied attack, which I think sometimes gets lost in the analysis when the pundits are talking about James Tennyson, because they talk a lot about his power and then they kind of forget to speak about, well, actually he sets his attacks up really well, and his variation of punches while he's attacking is actually excellent. So to be honest, I think this is going to be a barn burner. I think this is going to be a really good fight. It does depend on how Gwynne comes into the fight and how he chooses to fight, but I think as we've seen with James Tennyson at this level, he's able to get to the guys. They can't hide from him. They're just not high enough level, a lot of these British level guys, and I don't expect it to be different against Gwynne. I think Tennyson is going to land a lot of shots, and I think Gwynne is going to have to stand and fight at some stage, unless he does for the whole fight. But he is definitely going to have to trade leather with Tennyson at some stage. And Tennyson up at lightweight, a lot sturdier, a lot stronger in the body, with a good chin, and with the power that he has. I think that left hook is exceptional. He's literally putting guys lights out with that shot. I only see one winner in this one, but I see a cracking fight, and one that you don't want to miss. So we're obviously biased on this channel. We want James Tennyson to do the business and to go forward and go on at lightweight and secure bigger titles, bigger belts, and go on to world level. And you never know, the challenge for a world title. Lightweight is obviously extremely high level at the moment, with the likes of Lomachenko, Teofimo Lopez, Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia, Luke Campbell. I mean, there's just 5 guys. Jorge Linares is still knocking around at lightweight. I mean, you're really talking about the cream of the crop there, you know, like some of the best fighters in the whole world, you know, pound for pound as well, like really top level guys, and most of them are quite young as well. So you are looking at well, not most of them, but the likes of Garcia and Haney and Lopez, really young, brilliant fighters. So we're looking, you know, hopefully Tennyson can get up to that level. But it obviously all starts with the British lightweight title on Saturday. Move on to the main event of the evening, which is of course Sam Eggington from Birmingham against Ted Cheeseman from Essex. So you've got it's the IBF International Super Welterweight title, so obviously 154 pounds, light middleweight or super welterweight. This is a cracker. This is a great fight. Sam Eggington is always in good fights. A little bit similar to Tennyson, but maybe slightly less polished than someone like James Tennyson, in my opinion. Has a very good kind of varied attack coming forward, but very vulnerable to being hit on the way in. So you see, kind of as Sam Eggington has stepped up the levels and fought the better fighters, he has been a little bit exposed, especially against Liam Smith, which is obviously he was a little bit out of his depth there, but someone who just, with the class of Smith, was able to just pick him apart and hit him way too often and way too clean. Obviously Ted Cheeseman is not the level of Liam Smith, but Ted Cheeseman is a very polished boxer, good movement, decent snap in his punches, but the ability to fight in different ways. We've seen him change it up. You know, against Scott Fitzgerald, he could have arguably got the decision there. I actually thought he won the fight personally. Thought he boxed really well. Didn't get the decision, but it was a close fight. But you know, it was a different fight to how he fought against Sergio Garcia for the European title. You know, he fought against Fitzgerald kind of more on the back foot, more calculated boxing. You know, and in previous fights we have seen him come forward and really chase the fight a lot more. So what we know about Ted is that he has a versatile game. He's grown. He's only 24. He's quite young. But I mean, regardless of result, I think it's a tough one to call. I think this is going to be a cracking fight. Really good action fight. It's going to be kind of nip and tuck. I think you're going to see times in the fight where Cheeseman is kind of choosing to box a little bit more cleverly, really watch the distance and maybe even move back. But you're going to see also times in the fight where he engages Sam Eggington, and they stand a little closer together and a bit more toe to toe and really go at each other. So I think you're going to see a lot in this fight. It's going to be really exciting. I think Ted Cheeseman is the favourite, the bookies' favourite. I personally favour Sam Eggington in this fight. I think Eggington, just with his great chin and his ability to kind of get to guys, especially at this kind of level, at this British level, Sam is tested and proven, and he really does. He has the power as well to get to guys and really hurt them. So I think Ted has to really perform at a very high level, you know, and probably give the performance of his career so far for me to win this fight. But it's gonna be a cracking fight. I'm looking forward to it so much. Yeah, tune in, guys, on Sky Sports to watch the first week of Matchroom Fight Camp. Obviously, all you Irish guys out there, particular interest for to watch James Tennyson's fight. Gonna be really gonna be good. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe, as I say, and share the video around. And thanks very much, guys.